It is time for
A lightning hour.
Michael's karate chop. Hiya!
Karate chop bottom line.
It's the bottom line, the terrible twos, the final two questions of
Bottom
the
line.
show, the two most important questions ever in the history of humankind. Question number one is, on a scale of 1 to 10, Michael Kenyon Rosenberg, what would you give the first episode of his Dark Materials on HBO Max, is where we watched it, entitled Lyra's Jordan?
Well, HBO definitely has some money to burn, right? I mean, you could tell that they sunk a lot of money. And it's 3 seasons already, this show.
You just said burn and sunk. That doesn't sound too good for how you feel about this show. Money to burn and money to sink.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but this show has gone 3 seasons already, and
wow, really?
I think they just released the 3rd season, and that's kind of why I was getting inundated with trailers for the show. But I think there's a lot of good aspects to it. I mean, I like the fact that they're talking to these animals and they have these animal companions. I like the fact that it takes place in an alternate world. I like the fact that there's this magisterium, which is this kind of mystical or mysterious organization that kind of runs things and makes sure people aren't heretical, and they're trying to push down magic, and I like the airships, and I like James McAvoy, Professor X.
McAvoy, that's his name. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things there's a lot of good aspects to the show. So I had to bump it up a little bit, and I gave it a 6.25. Write it down, Ryan.
Marking it down for you. 6.25.
6.25. 6 1/4.
Sasha, by the way, he's the daddy McAvoy.
Not the Mac Daddy boy.
Right. Sasha, scale of 1 to 10. This is the big money.
I am giving it a 7. And I will maybe 7.1. I am giving it 7.1 because first of all, of course, I really love all the magical things and fantasy and all of that, and Harry Potter. On the positive list is, it's entertaining. It has a good, strong potential of a story. So it's not like artificially kind of made up just in order to make a show out of nothing. So it's like it has something solid behind it. Just the way they did it in the first episode, and a lot of too much darkness from the very beginning. I don't appreciate it, because we all want hope and light and everything.
It's in the
title.
That.
Yeah, it's in the title.
And we do not appreciate these issues, how they would say. But acting and again, as I mentioned before, to me, I had this thought that, these sculptures of animals, this like animal interaction with humans, which I really loved, and it was really interesting. Again, it made me think about LA, because when I just moved here, that was my first impression, like animal and people, I just coexist together like in one big group. And I thought like, wow, it would be great to kind of create like a story, something to make something out of it. And seems like British made something out of it, on this show, this idea of, because people are talking about animals, especially now in the pandemic, you see like how people escape into their pets and find comfort in them, and friendship and company and everything. And to take it to the next level, I think for now, I don't have any pets, but usually, my world is a pet world. It was just inconvenient with moving here and establishing and everything. But I totally relate to that. And it's like, it's very cute and lovely. And you can think about a lot of how this story could work. And it's like, although it's human souls, blah, 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 whatever, but pets do have souls and animals do have human souls. So, you know, there is a lot that I like about it. So I would give it a 7. But again, because I need more light on this show, like in first Harry Potter, like in my favorite, Once Upon a Time. I really love season 1. And I think season 2, and then the last season, because it basically repeats season 1, only in like different realm. Because it has the balance of, and it's like the story is moving instead of just trying to create more darkness, and there is no exit of this darkness. Like they're sinking it, and you're like, okay, give me a break. You know, like that moment on, I'm mixing so many shows, like that moment on Walking Dead when there was this Negan story. And I absolutely love Negan. He's so charming, but it was too long. He already like killed everyone, made everyone miserable. And then he was still like dominating everyone, still dominating. Like all their fight was useless. And when it like goes from episode to episode, from season to season, you're like, give me, I don't want to watch it anymore, like move on. So, you know, so as long so I would like to see more light there to balance the darkness. That's why like 3 point less than it could be.
Makes sense. Let me, speaking of light and dark,
oh yeah, you have a perfect balance of it.
So me, scale of 1 to 10, I toiled with this a bit, but interestingly enough, we're all very close in our scores. The way Mike was talking about, I thought originally Mike was going to go way high, but then the way you were talking about it, I thought you were going to go way low. But then you were kind of not too bad. I wanted to give it like between a 6.5 and a 7. So I decided to go to a 6.8 to not quite in the middle of those two, give it a tiny bit of a bump towards the 7, just because, you know, it's cool that they have animal stuff, and, you know, it's cool that they're trying something kind of relatively different. And the blimps, there's some creativity there. There's some potential there. They're creating a new world. So I want to be a little patient with them on that. There are some things that weren't great, like why is the city still called London? It's a different, like, why is it they're going? I was kind of taken out of it when they're like, we're going to London and this is Oxford. And at first when they said Oxford, I was like, oh, it's maybe just some coincidental name that they use, that it's just two things called Oxford. But then they're like London. I'm like, okay, no, so this is just England. This is England with all the same cities. Where'd your creativity go all of a sudden? So that didn't quite do it for me. But anyway, so 6.8 for me. Now, the big one is, though, really all HBO cares about right now. They're saying, yeah. We're watching your show for one reason and one reason only.
They're not watching us, I guarantee it. But
and that question is this: for the purposes of this podcast, we all had to watch the first episode of His Dark Materials. But now that, yes, they are watching us right now. But now that the podcast is over and you're free to move about the internet, Michael Kenyon Rosenberg, would you watch the second episode of His Dark Materials, and why not?
I would not. And I'll tell you one thing, though. One thing I might do is what I did with Hunger Games, is I might go read the books and then be like, oh man, I kind of like these books. I kind of want to watch the series now. But as for after watching this first episode, I am not enticed to watch the second at all. So
also, Professor X, his name was Azrael. And Azrael was the cat's name in Smurfs. You go, Azrael, and you go, meow. Was there more to that? I thought.
No, it was just a no, but then I might read the books and then watch it after that. But that's just a maybe to reading the books, but definitely a no to watching the second episode.
Sasha, would you watch the second episode?
Well, I will start to build up an intrigue with agreeing with Michael that it's always a good idea with such stories to read the books first, because again, it will not be, the shows and films never repeat the books literally. They will always find something new, or like will develop other different lines from the main line on the book. So anyway, so that's always a good approach and I would take it. But I think I will give it a chance. I will watch the second episode and then I will
Whoa.
see, yay, woohoo!
He's
how
looking
the
for
story
something to
goes.
binge. Like this could be it. There's
Exactly,
3
exactly.
seasons.
Exactly. So I will give it a chance. And if it like straightens up a little bit, the story, so they'll kind of pursue one task at a time and it starts, developing into less confusing but more interesting adventure, then I will give it a chance. If it stays just dark and confusing, then I will probably pass.
I can almost guarantee that it's going to stay dark.
Yeah.
Well, it's dark materials.
I think it'll get
after all.
darker, in fact. As for me, 6.8, not bad. I'm a little intrigued. I'm a little curious, but I'm not interested in watching the second episode. I mean, I may at some point. I wouldn't be opposed to it. It might happen. If Sasha tells us, dude, it's so good, you got it, it really picks up in the second episode, I'd be like, all right, maybe I will check it out. But
yeah,
as
but I've been
right
telling
now,
you that about WandaVision too, and you still
Yeah.
haven't watched that. So
no, I watched a few of them, and it just doesn't do it for me. But based on this first episode, it didn't quite do enough as far as the story. The world building was fun and interesting, but the story didn't do anything to grab my attention, really. So it's a no from me. And I will not be reading the book, by the way.
Oh,
that I can tell you right darn now. I read about sports only.
Oh, wow.
That's
I never
it.
About sports
yeah,
ever.
Anyway,
those sports novels that he loves.
Wow.
interestingly enough, I love sports. I love reading about sports and following sports, but I don't like sports movies. I'm never interested in watching sports movies. It's weird. Anyway.
Yeah, I wanted to add something to that. I have my own kind of boxes in which I place the shows. Usually I watch the show. I rarely just sit and watch because I'm always on the move. I'm always doing something. So when I have something to do, like for instance, I might be, like drawing or anything, and then I watch my favorite shows. If the show disappoints me, I move it into a category of my kitchen shows, which means that I'm cooking, washing dishes, and somewhere half in the background that show plays. If I get interested and I catch myself on like stopping and watching, then I move it back from the doghouse to back home. And exquisite shows that I really love and they require really watching, those I watch on the big screen, and I take the time of my life, like an hour from my life, to really sit and watch and do nothing at the same time, just to watch and enjoy the show.
Nice.
So this show is in the category for now where I'm doing something and watching. It's in a good
kitchen
category.
Show.
No, not yet. Well, it will be a kitchen show if the second episode will disappoint, but I still want to know what happens. Then I will move it to the kitchen show. So for now, it's still at home, not in the
Wow. Very gracious of you.
Not in the doghouse of the kitchen.
Yeah.
So this is it, guys. This is when we really just put a button on everything and we say, everybody make sure that you give us a WTF and whatever you want us to review. You can say, for example, WTF Friends or WTF Real Housewives of Please. I don't want to do that one.
WTF Crown, the Crown. That's
WTF
the
Crown. Anything like that, and we will review
WTF
it.
Jersey Shore.
Oh. So that's about it.
I get so much pleasure when Ryan hurts like that when I mention a show.
And I hurt a lot, so you get a lot of pleasure.
Guys, how about doing WTF? WTF.
Right?
We've talked about that.
So
We've heard
meta.
people say that before, yeah.
Right?
So
Another one.
what I'm trying to say is this podcast was a learning experience for humans, animals, and myself.
This podcast was magic and mystery and part of our history.
Along with the secrets
of gummy berry juice. Yep.
This podcast was such a fun that I want to be back whenever you want to have me back.
So that's it, everybody. Make sure to give us a like. Make sure to comment in the comment section below with whatever you'd like us to review, and we may just do it. if you can believe that. And always remember what Mr. Michael Kenyon Rosenberg always likes to say.
Don't forget to register to be an organ donor. And
Have
to
your
watch the
pets-
first of things.
Have your pets spayed and
Oh,
neutered.
spade and neuter your pets. Yeah, of course. Yeah. Otherwise, they'll be turning into dark materials.